ingredients, not like rice or stuff like that, but the base molecules that make up these things, synthetic materials like that, and make it to where it's creating food or edible food and stuff like that. This could go far for the space program. So we're going to have to see if this medical tricorder, which we're talking about, this medical tricorder really does take off. It's coming out next year, and we're going to see if this thing takes off. Well, we are coming to a point where we're going to have to take another break for our next segment, but don't worry. Coming up next, we talked about the Scandu Indiegogo's project, and right now, right after the break, we're going to talk, we talked about that Google conversational tool. Well, we're going to talk about HTC. According to reports, HTC right now is not looking good. HTC is in disarray. The CEOs have left. They have, yeah, CEOs have left. They're having production problems. Remember, we reported that HTC had lost its tier 1 status. Remember that they had delays of the HTC One because they couldn't get chips? Because the chip manufacturers said you are no longer, can you imagine being told that? You're no longer tier 1? So you're not our focus. People have walked out. Design engineers have walked out of HTC. It's just a mess right now. So we're going to talk about that. Also, MSI, AMD, Richland, A10 gaming laptops have been priced and ready for launch. So we're going to talk all that and more coming up after the break on Tech Pulse. See you soon. And we are back. You're saying, man, you just left. Well, hey, that's how we do it here on Tech Pulse. We don't waste time. Now, we're not going to keep the people waiting. The people want to hear, they come here to hear tech news and reviews. They didn't come here to look at a blank screen. So we're coming right back. We just took that quick break. Just enough to, get you, you're moving somewhere, you want to get up, stretch your legs, and come back and digest this thing, because I know many of you out there have bought the HTC One. And you're saying, man, this phone is a good phone. We want this thing to last and everything like that. But I have to tell you, there is trouble in the camp. The Verge has learned, The Verge, an online magazine publication, has learned that HTC's chief product officer, I can't even pronounce the guy's name. He's from, Japan or Korea or something like that. I won't even try to pronounce his name because, that's just going to ruin it. But his, give it up. The HTC's chief product officer left the company last week. You see, and he was responsible for HTC's overall product strategy. So this new HTC One, how they were going to launch it and so forth, this guy was responsible for it. And it makes the departure especially notable on the heels of the global launch of their make or break HTC One. Because if HTC One fails, HTC was going down because they were hemorrhaging cash. They couldn't afford to come out with a phone that didn't work. And now it's not just that their chief product officer lost. In the past 3 odd months, HTC has lost a number of its employees in rapid succession. Most recently, Jason Gordon, the company's vice president of global communication. We're not talking they lost a warehouse manager or someone who boxes the product, someone like that. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? They're losing these key people. Their vice president of global communications has left. Other fresh departures include the global retail marketing manager Rebecca Rowland is gone. The director of digital marketing John Starkweather, he's gone. And the product strategy manager Eric Lynn, he's gone. You see, and it's not a coordinated poaching effort that's draining HTC's Seattle-based North American operation, but Starkweather has landed at AT&T. The guy is now at AT&T, while Lynn and Roland have both joined, guess what? Microsoft. Yep, they've gone to Microsoft. You know, Gordon has yet to announce his next move, but why is everyone heading out? You know, anyone who's heard of them in Seattle doesn't want to go to work for them right now. Nobody, so it's not just that they're losing people, but the technology industry. Nobody in the industry wants to go and work for HTC right now. People are saying they're like T-Mobile 2 years ago, where T-Mobile was really floundering in what they were going to do and trying to rebuild themselves and stuff like that, and now they seem to be on kind of a solid footing. HTC is now floundering. It's no secret that HTC has seen better days. Both last year, One X and this year's One have tried and thus far failed to stem the flagging revenue against Samsung's giant Galaxy S4. You know, they haven't seemed to really be able to break through that market share, but it may not be a coincidence that the year's prominent departures have stuck HTC's marketing ranks in this disappointing situation, while the hardware and software design teams led by Scott Kroll in San Francisco and Drew Bamford in Seattle respectively keep humming along. They've been coming out with good hardware, but all these key people seem to have left, and they're saying right now that morale in the company has been drained. The Facebook phone that they came out with, the HTC First, that one has, I mean, AT&T has discontinued it because it only sold 15,000 units of the phone since it launched, and they're saying that nobody really wants it, and AT&T discontinued it. So I'm saying now with this report here that The Verge has come up with in saying that HTC is really floundering. All these CEOs in key positions. Devin, you've been in big corporations. You've been in big situations. And when I say big situations, I mean you've been at the top, you know, in the corporate world. And when a company is losing all of these key people, because it's one thing to lose, you know, someone who boxes. And I'm not saying those guys don't have important jobs. Don't get me wrong. Everyone in a company is important. But if you're just going to lose a couple of packers, people who pack in the warehouse, or you're going to lose, you know, a couple of shipping supervisors or stuff like that, that might be one thing, you know. But you're losing CEOs, heads of departments are walking out, and the reports by The Verge are saying that nobody in the tech industry wants to go and work. So HTC can't even find replacements for those people that have left. What would you say is happening with such? Is that normal for big corporations to go through this type of thing? Or when you see something like that happen, because many people bought the HTC One, it's doing well as far as sales, but now when they hear HTC is in this type of disarray, I mean, what would you say if you were an HTC One owner? I mean, would you be worried, or is this normal? That happens all the time in big corporations.
I'd be looking for a job too. No, I'm kidding. Can you imagine the owner? Everybody's there working and they see the owner packing up his bags in the office like, I'm heading out too. You know, I'm not going to be there.
Right. And then they're going to work for the competitors. Yeah, AT&T and Microsoft, they've gone to work for.
That's really a bad sign. But, you know, you have to take it in context too, that, you know, they might have, usually, right, especially in banking or in big corporate world, there's a team that's really running the ship.
Right.
They're key players, and they kind of have this loyalty together, and maybe there's one key person that's the linchpin.
Right.
If you can get to that one person, and he or she feels that, you know, he's going to get a great deal next door. Right. They'll work on him to get the rest of his team.
So you get one, you get the rest of them.
You get the rest of them.
Right,
so,
right.
you know, it sounds bad, but you know, and it's not good for the average consumer to see that.
Right.
But it's not that unusual.
Right.
And it doesn't mean the company is doing bad. It doesn't mean anything necessarily negative internal.
Right.
It just means that Microsoft played some dirty game. And
But what about the fact that nobody wants to go and work for them?
for HTC?
Yeah.
But it's probably because of that. It's
Okay.
probably because of the rumors
Right.
that they're losing some key people.
Right. And so people, they don't want to join on to a sinking
they
ship.
Feel that it
Right.
might be a sinking ship.
Right. Right.
So that's why it's a bad thing.
Right.
You know, and some of these corporations, Microsoft might not have even have needed them.
Right. But they just don't want them
Exactly.
to have them.
I've talked to you about
Yeah.
that before.
Right.
In soccer, they do that a lot.
Right.
They don't want that extra player,
Right.
but they'll have him sitting on the bench, just buying him so that the other team that
Doesn't
need
have
him
him.
Doesn't
Right.
have him.
Right.
And that could be what's happening in this situation.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what it is.
Right.
And so they've accomplished two things.
Right.
They've gotten that A team from
Right.
over the next guy, the
Right.
competition, and they've made them feel unsettled in
Right.
terms of consumer or even people.
So now my question is, do you think HTC can survive this?
Yeah, they can.
They can survive it because on the strength of the HTC One, the HTC One is doing really well. If HTC can keep it together, see that's the thing. I mean, it's how you run your company that really tells a story. Devin was talking about the coach at Arsenal. For those of you that follow soccer throughout the world, that guy can take players that nobody cares about, train them, and make them into champion quality players. So it's not necessarily just the people you have around you, but who you have running the program. So if HTC still has a key person who can right the ship and put internal people into these positions without having to hire, they can still make it. Go
The
ahead.
next few weeks is critical to HTC.
Yeah.
The next few weeks and months is going to be really critical because they wouldn't be out there compared to, you know, the Samsungs and
Right.
other, if they didn't have good quality.
Good
As a
product,
fact, They
right.
came out with really good stuff, you know, over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last few years, and recently they did. So they have something to offer. They just need to get confidence back up and the right people in the right place quickly. Yeah, time is a huge issue right now. So they need to jump on it.
And they need to make sure that they have what they need as far as going forward. Looks like we're experiencing a few technical difficulties again, so we're gonna have to take a break right at this juncture.
Is that no?
Nope. All right. Something is back. See anything on your end?
I see the